boys and girls, students of Buddhist Sunday School, parents, grandparents, and teachers of Buddhist Sunday School. Good morning. May you all be well and peaceful. For this lesson, we are going to have another Aesop's fable that teaches good moral lessons. The Aesop's fable is titled The Owl and the Grasshopper. We are going to go over that story, and then at the end, we are going to discuss some important Dharma lessons. And of course, there are also good morals to learn. Now, you have heard many Aesop's fables before. There are hundreds of them. You have heard important ones like the lion and the mouse, pride goes before a fall, and many others. But this is not so common, but most of you perhaps have not heard this particular Aesop's fable. So we are going to go over this very, very interesting and beneficial fable of Aesop. Now, as usual, let us launch the PowerPoint. Okay, so usual. So you see the cover slide here. And as I said just now, the title is The Owl, right? And the grasshopper. You can see here the owl, bulung hantu, they call it, all right? And here you have the insect, grasshopper. And then, of course, here you have the owl again. And this is an animated image of grasshopper. Of course, this is just a story, cannot really play an instrument. Now, Aesop's fables deal with animals. And these animals, of course, can talk in the story. Now, here again, you can see, right, the image of, or the picture of the owl and the grasshopper. Now, let us go to the next slide. Now, these are some facts or there is some information about owls, burung hantu. Now, the owl always takes her sleep during the day. Then after sundown, when the rosy light fades from the sky and the shadows rise slowly through the wood, out she comes, ruffling and blinking from the old hollow tree. Now, let me explain, right, this paragraph. Now, you find that these owls sleep during the day and they come out at night. So you see pictures or even videos of the owls with large eyes coming out at night to search for their food. And in Malay, we call it burung hantu. Perhaps hantu comes out at night. So this particular bird comes out at night. That is the nature of owls. Right? Then after sundown, now sundown means sunset. When the sun has set in the west, right? So evening time and then going towards night. And you see the rosy light. Now you can see the sunset light, right? Very beautiful, isn't it? Right? Like the colors of certain roses, reddish in color. So slowly it begins to fade away from the sky, and then night comes. So when night comes, of course, you also will have shadows that come around the wood, through the wood. The wood will be the forest or the jungle, or the wood. And these owls now come out from their homes. And where do they stay? They usually stay in old hollow trees, big trees And these old trees have holes, and the owls go there to nest. They come out ruffling. Now, ruffling means noisy, perhaps, disturbing the tranquility, disturbing the peace, because you have some noises, ruffling. And then, of course, the owls will blink their eyes. That's some information about the owl. Now you can hear the actual sound made by owls, what we call the hooting of the owl. Very, very strange, isn't it? A weird type of sound. This is the weird hoo. Just now you heard it. Now weird would mean very, very strange, not usual. Some people get scared when they hear the hooting sounds of owls, but that is just the natural sound of these owls, the hooting. So when these hooting sounds go through the quiet wood, she makes the sounds, and then she of course comes out and begins to hunt for her food. Now what sort of food? Begins her hunt for the bugs and beetles, frogs, and mice that she likes very much to eat. So these are some of the food items that owls like to eat. The bugs, various types of bugs, even in the woods, you have some bugs, maybe in the old tree trunks, and beetles also, and the frogs, and the mice. So these are some of the food items she likes to eat. Now here you can see the eating habit of the owl. It's how the owl eats. This is another animated image of the owl. Very prominent. You can see the eyes. Some people get scared when they see an owl at night. You have the moon, so you can see quite clearly on the branch of a tree, and then the owl starts hooting. Just now you heard the sound, and they get frightened. There's no need to be frightened actually, because it is just another type of bird, isn't it? Now, the story starts this way. There was a certain old owl who had become very cross and hard to please as she grew older, especially if anything disturbed her daily slumbers. Now, this story concerns an old owl, and one more character after you will see is the grasshopper. So this owl, as she grew older, she became, short-tempered. That means easily she would get angry, and not easy to make her happy, hard to please as she grew older. Irritable. Many things will irritate her, especially when she wanted to sleep. Slumbers means sleeping, slumber, in slumberland, sleeping, then you dream. So, she will sleep in the daytime, and at night she'll come out. So you see, this is an old owl that is hot-tempered, perhaps, and of course she gets angry easily. Now, this is also happening among people. Many people become, easily angry, right? Grumpy when they grow old, and they start scolding or nagging and so on. You hear of old, people who like to nag and so on. Not all, right? But there are some, especially those that do not learn Dhamma. So maybe you might find your grandparents, grandmother, grandfather, grumpy, likes to complain and so on. You must be patient and understand them, have metta, compassion, because next time when you grow old, you could be like that also, isn't it? So you still have to be patient and kind with metta towards the old people. They also have many good qualities. They can be very caring. They like the grandchildren. And then also they can tell very interesting stories. I remember my grandmother used to tell very, very interesting stories when we were young. So that is something we can learn about old people. Not all are like that, but there are some are like that. So that is this old owl. Let us go on to the next one. One warm summer afternoon, as she dozed away in her den, in the old oak tree, a grasshopper nearby began a joyous but very raspy song. Now, what does this mean? So let me explain a bit. Now, you know, this is probably in the Western country, or maybe a country that has summer as well as autumn or spring or winter. So when it's summertime, it is warm or hot. So it was the afternoon, and I told you just now that owls sleep during the daytime. So she was dozing away, that means falling asleep in her den. Now, den actually can be regarded as a wild animal's hidden home, a den, the place where she would rest on the animal, particularly the mammals. So refer to the den, a hidden place. Like for example, you hear of the den of the lion. Remember the story? The lion and the mouse, and the lion was in her den, in the den. That is the hidden home. So, and her hidden home was in the hollow of the oak tree. An oak tree is a very, very large tree. So in this old oak tree, of course, there was this hole where the owl made her home. And then when she was dozing off, was sleeping, there was a grasshopper who came by and started to sing very happily, joyous, happy, right? But, unlike a nightingale, a bird, so the sound of the grasshopper was not so nice. It was a raspy song. Raspy would mean it's a bit rough, hoarse, very harsh sounding. It's not like the sweet, gentle voice of some of the birds, like the nightingale, they chirp and sing very well. So it was a very sort of sung, the voice that is hoarse, rough. So of course this was disturbing the owl that was dozing away. So what happened? She was in her den or her home, and out popped the old owl's head from the opening in the tree. And the opening in the tree served her both for door and for window. It's not like our house, we have windows and then front door, back door. So it was only one opening. So there was no door. Actually, this one served as the door already, right? You don't have a curtain or a wooden door, something like that. So this one would act like a door for her to go in and out, as well as a window where she could look out. So she popped out from that den and to see what was happening. She was sleeping already. Now you could see this animated image of the owl sleeping. It's actually like that. And there was this grasshopper singing so happily, but with a voice. The sound was not gentle or sweet, but was rough, right? Hoarse. So let us now go on. So of course she was irritated, and then what did she say to the grasshopper? Get away from here, sir, she said to the grasshopper. Have you no manners? You should at least respect my age and leave me to sleep in quiet. Oh, that was what the owl said to the grasshopper. So you see here another picture here in her. She's also, now you could think of this as she, please go away lah. It's daytime and the owl needs to sleep lah. Maybe she was thinking like that also, but that was what she said. Get away from here, sir. She said to the grasshopper. So it's a sir would imply that it's a male grasshopper lah. You 没有礼貌的. You say, you know, I'm an old bird. You should at least respect my age and then allow me to sleep in peace, in the quiet. So that is also the dozing owl, sleeping. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Now, but the grasshopper was also quite a naughty, disrespectful creature lah. Instead of, responding with kindness or love, or maybe flying to another place to do her singing, she answered saucily. What is the meaning of saucily? It actually implies being rude and disrespectful. So she answered rudely and in disrespect, with no respect. Just as some students, when questions are asked to them, so they are rude. They answer in a very rude manner, as you probably have heard some of the jokes, and also showing no respect. And then what he told the owl, he said that he had as much right to his place in the sun as the owl had to her place in the old oak tree, which means, now you could imagine, I told you in Aesop's fables, the animals could talk, isn't it? So the grasshopper say, why are you complaining? Why are you complaining? I have a right in this very sunny, warm place. I have a right to be here, just as you have a right in your hollow, the old oak tree. So why are you complaining? You think you are very, very grand. This grasshopper was not respectful and was rude. And then he struck up a louder and still more rasping tune. So you know what the grasshopper did? Instead of, singing more softly, she sang more loudly, and of course it was very rough, a very hoarse voice, right? Harsh sounding. She continued. She didn't bother. So it was daytime. Remember, daytime. Then let's look at the next one. So the wise old owl knew quite well that it would do no good to argue with the grasshopper, nor with anybody else for that matter. Now, of course, usually we think of owls as wise, wise creatures. Owl like symbolizes wisdom. When we think of wisdom, say, oh, there's a wise owl, right? This is just a belief, right? A wise old owl. She was thinking daytime. She knew quite well that no point on arguing with this sort of stubborn, disrespectful creatures like the grasshopper, or for that matter, with anybody else. You argue with them, right? Well, not much of a point, wasting the energy. And then, of course, another reason was this. Her eyes, besides, her eyes were not sharp enough by day to permit her to punish the grasshopper as he deserved. So, during the daytime, then the owl would sleep, isn't it? At night, she would come out and her eyes would be very sharp and very, very good at seeing things even in the night time. But in the daytime, because she probably was sleepy, and he is a nature. Her eyes was not as sharp as at night. And she knew that it was difficult to go and punish or chase the grasshopper. Grasshopper also can, fly and can hop very, very fast, move. So she thought that no use. So she was thinking, so what did she do? She laid aside all hard words. So she didn't want to, all right, scold, because he was also sleepy. And then she instead spoke very kindly to the grasshopper. She was using kind words, right? So you could see the animated, this is the owl, this is the animated image of the grasshopper. Let's look at the next one. Then what did the owl say? Well, sir, if I must stay awake, I'm going to settle right down to enjoy your singing. So she said some very kind words already. She said, now that you are singing quite loudly, right? So I suppose I have to stay awake, even though I usually sleep during the daytime. So I'm going to settle down, be quiet and peaceful, and listen to your singing and enjoy your singing, even though the singing was actually not really pleasant from a grasshopper, not like some of the birds singing, isn't it? But actually, this owl, right? I told you she was a hot-tempered one and then impatient. So actually, she also had some wrong thoughts already. She was thinking of something, a plan to get at the grasshopper, to punish the grasshopper. So the words were one thing, but actually she did not mean what she said. She was very, very irritable and disturbed, but just she pretended and she used kind words. So what, what she said? You will see the plan. Say now that I think of it, I have a wonderful wine here. Send me from Olympus, of which I am told Apollo drinks before he sings to the high gods. Now this is interesting. So I will spend some time to explain to you. Now she is actually having a plan. So know what she said to the grasshopper? Hey, yeah, I remember. Now I think I had some wonderful wine, fantastic wine in my home, the hollow there. And this was actually sent to me from Olympus. Now, Olympus is actually a place. You have Mount Olympus. You can see the image, a picture. The Mount Olympus is at a place in North Greece. Greece, the country where the Olympics started. Probably the word Olympic and Olympus also connected, right? So he say, from this place, a god send me this wine. It might not be a god, it's just bluffing, right? So send me from this place, Olympus. This Olympus in Greece, according to Greek mythology. Mythology are not actually true stories. Myths are just like legends where people believe. So according to Greek, you could say like fairy tales or myths. There are 12 gods, that stay in this Olympus, the mountain Olympus, the area. There is 12 gods. So he was in North Greece and the home of 12 gods. So I was told, that this Greek god, Apollo. Now Apollo is a Greek god in mythology. So the Greeks believe in this. Some Greeks anyway. There's a myth. Just as we have legends in Malaysia, in all various countries, though you have myths and legends, not really true. So, and this in Greek mythology, you have various gods, Apollo, Hercules, Venus. You sometimes see this in movies. So this Apollo is supposed to be a very famous mythological god of practically everything. Very good in music, particularly music, also poetry, art, order and beauty. And then this god is also associated with healing and with prophecy, can tell about the future or predict the future. And he's also a god of knowledge, a god of beauty. Oh, many, many qualities. But today we are going to focus on one, and that is the quality of being able to play musical instruments. That means the god of music also. Now you could see this picture here, just of the Apollo. You can see various forms, right, of beauty, love, poetry, art, and so on. So he said, I was told, that if this Apollo were to drink the wine, wow, he could even sing better, and he would sing to the other gods, the high gods. Wow, this grasshopper was listening with rapt attention. Wow, there is wine in the home of this hour. And this wine so special, if I were to drink it, wow, my voice would be even much better already. Anyway, she could not sing in a sweet voice, that's the nature. And say, wow, I could sing very well. So now you see the danger. In other words, this owl actually was saying something that was not true. She was just praising, right? And then also try to flatter, to say that you could sing, but you could sing even better, Apollo, you would drink, flatter. So probably the owl praise, the grasshopper singing. Oh, the singing actually, very talented. But if you were to drink this, wow, you would even be just as good as Apollo singing to the god. Then what did the owl say? Please come up to my home here and taste this delicious drink that is the wine with me. I also drink that. And I know it will make you sing like Apollo himself. Oh, this is to flatter to say good things, right? So the owl invited the grasshopper to go to her home to drink the wine, and she said, laughing actually, that the wine would enable the grasshopper to sing. Wow, just like Apollo. Now, this is another picture of Apollo, right? So, wow, this grasshopper, listen so carefully, was very taken, taken by the flattery, and also she was thinking, it would be nice to be able to sing like Apollo. So what did he do? So the foolish grasshopper was taken in by the owl's flattering words, right? So the grasshopper was bluffed, was foolish, and he believed what the owl said. The flattering, that means not honest praises and not honest words, just to flatter. So what did the grasshopper do? Up he jumped to the owl's den. So when he went into the home, or maybe just outside only, so when he was near, then the owl could see very clearly, even though it was daytime, but because he was very, very near already, he wanted to go inside the den in order to drink the wine, isn't it? But as soon as he was near enough, about just to go into the den, what did the owl do? The old owl, seeing him very clearly now, immediately pounced upon him. I could see the arrow here, the red arrow. pounced upon the grasshopper and ate the grasshopper, ate him up. So the grasshopper died, being eaten by the owl. And that is the end of this very short story. And that is Aesop's fable of the owl and the grasshopper. It's a very simple story, but it teaches us very important moral lessons. So Aesop's fables are actually very well known, and all of them teach very important lessons. I've done a number already, and you'll be hearing more. I'll choose those not so common ones you have not heard before. So now comes the most important slide, and that is the moral lessons. So we're going to discuss this, and you will learn some very important Dharma teachings as well as life lessons. So let us look at the last slide. Some moral lesson from the fable. The fable, as you know, is titled The Owl and the Grasshopper. You see the background, wash out lah, so that you will not disturb the words. It is showing again, the grasshopper, giving the music in the form of singing and this owl getting irritated Anyway, that is the background. Let's look at the first one. First of the moral lessons. Beware of flattery. It can lead you to trouble. So you have to be careful, right? You see, when con man flatter you, I say, oh, you are so beautiful little child, right? I'll give you some money, you are so clever, everything. Now I invite you to go to the Kentucky and so on. So you feel very flattered because this con man is flattering you. Say things that you like to hear. Praise you, say you're so clever, so beautiful and so on, but actually not honest. So the con man invites you, come, I'll take you to the McDonald's and so on, give you a treat and say, yeah, thank you. Because you were so flattered already, you couldn't think already, and then you follow the con man, and certain terrible things can happen to you. So it lead you to trouble. So be careful what people say. So that is a very important lesson. You have to be very cautious of what people say or do. They may say one thing, but in the mind, they have other thoughts. Sometimes very, very bad thoughts, bad intention, but the words don't match what is happening in the mind. So you have to be very, very careful. Nowadays, more and more people like this, not honest. Think one thing, say another thing. And what they say can be very, very sweet, but what they think can be very, very cruel and terrible, having bad intention to harm or to cheat and so on. Let's look at the next one. Do not do foolish or unwise things that annoy others. Now, from the start, you could actually reflect on this point, that actually the grasshopper was also in the wrong, in the sense that this sort of act is quite foolish, isn't it? You are disturbing people. So it was the home, the den of the owl. It was daytime, of course, right? And this grasshopper, like sort of insisting on doing the very unwise thing that can cause another person, or in this case, another animal. But in the human world, of course, you have this also. And this annoy others. So that is also very, very important. When you do foolish or unwise things without thinking, this can bring you trouble. Right? Like for example, right? At night, let's say, at night. And then you have a trumpet, or maybe an instrument, a musical instrument that can play music, but you are not good at it. Midnight, you start playing your either guitar or trumpet or even worse, saxophone. very, very loud, practicing, you know. Right? So of course, this will irritate, this will make neighbors angry. People can come and wall up you also, isn't it? Right? So that is really foolish and unwise. And you have so many people doing foolish things that make people angry. The people who don't follow the traffic rules, like the rampage, or people who beat traffic lights, or people who drive so very, very fast, you know, endangering the lives of others. So this will cause other people to be angry with you. So this is a very important thing, and many people do that. Our habits of, you know, lack of education. And for example, they do foolish things. They go and throw the rubbish near the neighbor's house. So this will annoy and make the neighbors angry. And you know, you do these unwise, foolish things, then you find that bad things can happen to you, in the sense that people may scold you, may even wall up you, or if you do things against the local laws, they can report you to the police and so on. So that is a very important thing to think about. And of course, you find you as a student in the classroom, sometimes, you know, out of a lack of mindfulness or lack of moral knowledge or lack of morality, teacher is teaching, and then you are playing the fool, and you talk to others very loudly, you don't pay attention. So that is doing a foolish and unwise thing, isn't it? So what happens? Many students will be getting irritated, angry with you, because you make so much noise. Others cannot hear clearly, cannot pay attention. Of course, the teacher will be very angry with you, isn't it? And you'll be punished. So I remember, you know, long time ago, I think in the PBHP, maybe in the 1990s, something like that, we had these guidance classes, actually, you could say tuition classes, right, to help the poor people, community classes. So I remember there was this class, because I was coordinating, helping to take charge of these guidance classes. So there was this, I think it was a Form 1 class, right? So they had subjects like science and maths, and then also English and BM. So in the class, there were, I think, three or four students that were like this, doing foolish and unwise things that really annoy others. They would play the fool, throw paper, aeroplanes, talking in a loud voice, and then wouldn't do their homework. A lot of foolish things and so on. So the teachers, of course, try to counsel them and advise them, because the other students were getting very, very upset already, because they couldn't concentrate, isn't it? So these students did not want to listen to the teacher. So some good students, because very difficult to learn in that environment, they started to leave the class already. I mean, to go to another place to take the tuition already, or to follow the guidance class another place, even though they like to come. But very difficult with these fellows around. So then the teachers who taught in that class came to see me and asked me, they have tried all their best and so on. So all of them who taught that class, I think 4 teachers, right, 1 for each of the subjects, 4 of them agreed that they have to expel, they have to ask the 4 students to stop coming already, because they are affecting the others. So since the 4 teachers have investigated and have tried their best already and could not bring about a change, for the sake of the good ones and the others, so we had no choice but to ask the 4 naughty ones to leave, right? So sometimes you have to do that. You have tried all things already, good words, counseling, everything. So that is a very important point. Now let's look at the next one. Always have consideration for other people. It's quite connected here, you see. Bertimbang rasa. To think of other people. Of course, it's a very important thing in Dharma reasoning. To have metta, compassion. Metta is loving kindness. to be kind and love. Think about other people. Well, there is a problem, you see. Do unto others what you would have others do unto you. That was this famous saying from Confucius. You also don't want people to do certain things like shouting very loudly when you are studying. So you also would not do that, isn't it? You don't like people who steal things from you. You also should not steal from others. A very, very basic, simple principle. But unfortunately, many don't follow. They don't think of others, but they only think of themselves. You can think of so many examples that people, instead of queuing up in a very fair manner, they cut queues. They don't bother about others. In the bars or, yeah, maybe in the bars or train, right? They don't bother about others. They are young people. They take all the seats and then they see some old people or pregnant ladies around. They don't bother. We must also consider you poor fella, all right? Let them take their seats. So now today, this is very, very lacking. They may score A in moral education, but they don't practice good morality. So always have consideration for other people. Of course, this story, the owl and the grasshopper, has this very important point. The grasshopper had no consideration for the owl. The owl would sleep in the daytime and she would make so much noise with maybe she thought she could sing very well. But anyway, it was quite disturbing to the owl. So never consider other people is really a very, very bad Dharma practice. They are more concerned about themselves. And sometimes this, you can say, is traced to the ego, very proud of themselves. They only think of themselves, right? Like, for example, right? We have free food given during Vesak Day or some other occasions like Children's Day, Mother's Day. Wow, you can see all sorts of characters, young and old also the same. So some children, they have great consideration for other people, right? So they will just take the share and say, oh, they won't be greedy. But others have no consideration for other people. They will wall up as much as they could, just take more than one or two ice cream sticks. No consideration that there are other people still waiting, needing those things. Never consider. So it is rooted in this department called greed or lobha. So having consideration for other people is a very important moral and dharma practice, which you should always practice. And if you don't do it from young, later on, when you grow up, you go to universities, and next time when you work, you too will be inconsiderate. You don't think about other people. You only think about yourself. And what will happen? Do good, begets good. If you do bad, then bad things will happen to you. So here in this case, of course, it's not a good thing to have no consideration for other people. Then, of course, you will not be respected. And, many things will not turn out well for you and so on. So this is an important point that you have to seriously consider. Now we come to another very important lesson. Be mindful and heedful. Now, heedful means to be very careful, to think over things, to be cautious, right? Not doing stupid, dangerous things that can harm not only yourself, but harming others. And let's look at this point of mindfulness. Mindfulness should actually go hand in hand with wisdom, right? We must know what is happening around us. In this case here, the grasshopper must be mindful of the environment, and the environment here, very, very near to her, is the owl sleeping. So is the grasshopper mindful? Now today you find that many lack mindfulness. They are not aware, they are not attentive, and they don't remember or recollect the things that are told to them, important things in order for them to live more peacefully. So this lack of mindfulness is associated with forgetfulness. The mind is very, very blur, not sharp, not attentive, not alert. So you see that if you are not mindful, accidents can happen. You walk around without looking carefully, then you kick a rock and you fall, or you use a knife to cut vegetables, you're not mindful, you're not paying attention well, then you cut your fingers. So this is a very important thing to train. And of course, to be careful, to be cautious, right? To think of others also. So these are two important points. Then you have another thing, beware of insincere or dishonest words. Act wisely. Today, as I said just now, you have many people who are not honest. Young people, middle age, and old people. They are out to cheat. That's why in the papers you read of so many people get cheated, con. You have scams, right? And even educated ones get cheated. So of course, they are not honest with what they say. As I say, the mind has evil or bad intention to cheat you. That is of course bad karma. So from young, you have to develop that quality. You yourself, of course, must be very honest. Otherwise, you will be generating a bad karma. To be dishonest, to lie and cheat is breaking a moral precept. The fourth precept, do not lie. Second precept is do not steal, and you can say also no cheating. So this dishonesty is something you have to really be careful about. There is an English proverb, and I think I've done 1 or 2 lessons on this theme. Honesty is the best policy. So people do not mean what they say, not sincere. Of course, a person who is sincere is honest, he has moral integrity, and he is good, of good character. So we must develop that. Then only you'll be successful, you'll be peaceful when you grow up. I mean, now also you'll be peaceful. And then not only in this life, but later on, future lives during rebirth. Then you have good rebirth because your character is good. You have good moral character, good morality. Now, so that's why you see how important it is to have Dhamma, where you learn the good things that will benefit you this life and in future lives. Then the last point is to act wisely. Now, being very clever or intelligent is not the same as being wise. You have people who go to universities, they know a lot, they get all the A's, they can become professors, but they don't have wisdom. They don't even know or see very clearly what is good and what is bad, what can harm other people, because they are deluded, have the wrong beliefs. That's why you hear of terrorists. Terrorists are not just, you say, people who are not educated. You have people who have gone to universities, lecturers also, professional people who have become terrorists. So you see, they may be clever, but sad to say they don't have wisdom. And when you don't have wisdom, they can do things that are very dangerous, not only harming themselves and their families, but also other people. You have heard of so many terrorist acts that really make hundreds of people suffer, isn't it? Plane crash also, sometimes due to terrorist acts, all over. And from here, when we reflect upon, we know how important it is to develop this wisdom. The wisdom, in Mandarin, I think they call it 智慧, 地慧 in Hokkien. Malay use the word kebijaksanaan, so accurate also. Wisdom, the ability to have a clear mind, to know what we should do and what we should not do, We should know what are the things that are unwholesome, that cause harm to yourself and others, and make other people and you yourself suffer. So this wisdom is a very, very important quality. You can say the most important quality in Dharma teachings, to develop the mind that is wise, that is very clear, mindful, logical, pure, to be able to understand things, the true things, to see things clearly. So when wisdom comes in your mind, then you will do all the right, proper, and good things. And this will pave the way for you to have peace in the mind, to have happiness in this life as well as other lives. So, I have commented a lot on the Dharma points and the moral lessons or life lessons from this very simple Aesop's fable called, right? What is it called? The Owl and the Grasshopper. So I hope that you all have learned very well this particular presentation, and you can actually share with your friends. So before we conclude, I would like to thank all of you, the students, particularly from the primary, but actually this is also suitable for secondary students because many of them don't have the moral qualities or the moral nilai-nilai murni lah, you can say. And of course, teachers, use these stories to teach the children, and parents, grandparents also can teach. This is something good that we can do. So I thank all of you for your following the presentation, all right, with a good attention and also with the effort and energy that you put in. So to conclude, let us say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Right? Boys and girls, students, parents, grandparents, and teachers, may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. Take care.